Welcome to Pleasure Principles with your host, Avik. So, today we are here to flip this script on how we talk about intimacy, empowerment, and pleasure. So, ready to get real about sexual health, spark the fresh ideas, and have a few laughs along the way, right? Do you want to? So, then buckle up because today's guest is bringing the best. So, meet Eve Hall. So, welcome to the show, Eve.
Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Lovely, lovely. So, Eve, before we start our conversation, I'd quickly love to introduce you to all of our listeners. Dear listeners, Eve is a licensed physical therapist and certified health coach who's revolutionizing the world of sexual health, one candid conversation at a time. So, she is also the host of the hit podcast Please Me. So Eve is here to tackle the taboos, educate with boldness, and own her unapologetic big clit energy. Yes. So, from her professional expertise in acoustic wave therapy to her deeply personal journey of sexual liberation, Eve is a force of the nature. And today, she's sharing her wisdom with pleasure principles. So, let's get loud, break the barriers, and join in Eve's orgasm revelation. So, are you ready? Then let's dive in. Welcome to the show again, Eve.
Thank you so much. That intro was amazing. I want to keep it and use it everywhere. It was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It really means a lot. So Eve, I believe today's discussion is something where we could learn a lot of things from you. So, to start with, I mean, big clit energy. So, if you can help us understand what does it mean and how can everyone harness it?
Absolutely. I would love to talk about big clit energy. And I have my big clit energy shirt on today because I'm feeling that energy and that empowerment and that confidence. And that is basically what big clit energy is. It's when you have confidence in your sexuality, you have confidence in your ability to communicate your sexual desires, and you own your pleasure. And when you own your pleasure and you are confident in your sexuality, that really translates to all areas of our lives. It translates to the boardroom. It translates to, speaking in front of an audience. It translates to all of the things that you do that are scary, right? And it gives you that confidence that you can overcome anything. And a big dick energy has been flying around the internet for years. And when I started my podcast, I really wanted to do a show about the female equivalent of that. And I searched and searched for, the female equivalent and really came up short. And a couple of articles had said that women could have big dick energy too. And I said, you know what? I don't want big dick energy. I want what works for a woman, which is the female equivalent of the penis, which is the clitoris. And so I coined the term big clit energy to define that same energy, that same confidence that a woman can have in her body, in her sexuality, and in her confidence in that realm. That really translates to our lives in general.
Exactly. That's really awesome, I would say. And it's very important to talk about it because we somehow believe that sometimes we feel like we are not talking about it. We are not uh sharing the knowledges, but thanks to you for coming up with this. And so also orgasm inequality is real. So why do you think the orgasm gap persists in 2024?
Unfortunately, it is very real and still very common. And the orgasm gap is just so that, your listeners can understand exactly what that is. It is a phenomenon where in heterosexual relationships, and this doesn't really exist in LGBTQ relationships or even in kink relationships, but in heterosexual relationships, it's where men have many more orgasms than women do. And the statistics vary depending on the, group we're talking about, right? But we're talking about everywhere from hookups all the way to marriage, and literally every relationship in between. There is an orgasm gap, and it's very significant. And so, women learning that there is an orgasm gap in the first place, and men as well, right? Because I feel like men really do want to pleasure their partners. They want to make sure that their partners are enjoying themselves in the sexual act, right? And so men need to know about the orgasm gap too, to understand what it is, so that we can really close that orgasm gap for ourselves, one person at a time, through education and through empowerment.
Wow, lovely, lovely. And also at the same time, if we can share like what's acoustic wave therapy is and how does it help with sensitivity and sexual health issues?
Absolutely. Well, acoustic wave therapy is actually the gold standard in treatment for erectile dysfunction and its female equivalent, which is decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness. Okay. So, anatomically, what happens over time is that our bodies become accumulated, and the blood vessels in our bodies become accumulated with plaque, right? It's called atherosclerosis, and it happens over time depending on our diet and our environment. And so, what acoustic wave therapy does is it breaks up those blockages in the blood vessels in and around the genitalia in order to clear them so that more blood can flow to the penis, for instance, or the clitoris and vulva and vagina. Okay, so that you can regain that sense of sensitivity and regain that blood flow so that men can have harder erections and women can have wetter vulvas and vaginas.
Wow. Exactly, lovely, lovely. That's really lovely. And also, like if I talk about this from the listener's perspective, many listeners might think that this isn't my problem. So, what would you say to those skepticals about focusing on their sexual health?
Unfortunately, a lot of people don't focus on their sexual health and they keep it hidden, when they're having issues because they're ashamed. They're embarrassed that they have issues. And oftentimes, when they notice that they have issues, they minimize those issues, right? And the fact of the matter is, and if you look at the statistics, in men in their 20s, 20% of men in their 20s have some form of erectile dysfunction already, and it goes up 10% per decade. So 30% of men in their 30s, 40% of men in their 40s, 50% of men in their 50s, etc. So it goes on, right? And unfortunately, I would have clients coming to me because I'm a licensed physical therapist and I treat sexual health conditions. And I would have, clients coming to me and saying, I have erectile dysfunction, but my wife doesn't know I'm here. And so I'd become their, quote unquote, dirty little secret. And I thought to myself, this is not okay. People are not having these conversations with their partners because they have so much shame around the issue that they're having and around not being able to perform. And so we need to really throw that shame out the window. We need to throw the cultural, conditioning of hiding underneath, a facade of things are wonderful, and really being okay with talking about the ugly stuff, right? The stuff that makes us not feel good about ourselves. And, erectile dysfunction and its female equivalent, decreased sensitivity and dryness, are real issues that impact our sexuality and our sexual health. And so if we can open up the conversation and listen and hear these conversations more often, it's going to model for people the ability to have those conversations with their partners. So that is really what I love to talk about a lot with, in my show and on other shows, etc.
Okay, okay, got it. So, and also, what's one misconception about female pleasure that you hear all the time? And if so, then how can we bust it?
I think a huge misconception is that female pleasure is dictated by the penis, right? And, a lot of times men will feel like their penis is all a woman needs, right? And unfortunately, that is not true. Yes, we love that part of your anatomy. Okay. However, a woman needs external clitoral stimulation in order to orgasm. And that's 95% of women need external clitoral stimulation in order to orgasm. Only 3 to 5% of women can orgasm from penetration alone. So, unless you know that information, you are going to constantly be focused on penetration, which is the way a man orgasms, and the woman is going to be left shorthanded. So, if everybody understands that that's the case and that a woman requires 20 to 25 minutes of external stimulation before penetration occurs to get their body prepared, it's very easy for a man to see if their body is prepared for sex. There's an erection, it's hard, it's ready to go. But for a woman, a woman's clitoris, a woman's vulva also needs to become engorged, filled with blood, just like a man, in order to be ready for penetration. And a lot of people don't realize that. They skip over all of the parts that need to be, not skipped over to get the female ready for the sexual act as well. So slowing down and really understanding that and trying to, stimulate your partner is really key to closing that orgasm gap and having equality around orgasm.
That's really true. And somehow I also believe, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I also believe that both the partners should discuss this openly between them, like uh, how they like it. I mean, what they like it. So I believe that will also break the barriers somehow. What do you say?
100%, 100%. And that's why this season of my show, Please Me, we're doing a role play, and every guest of mine is doing a role play with me to model those conversations. And sometimes it's a doctor and we're modeling conversations about how we would empower ourselves and advocate for ourselves in the doctor's office. And sometimes it's a sex coach and we're modeling conversations around how to have conversations with our partner. But 100%, we need to speak to our partners to tell them what we like, what we don't like. Every single body, I should say, is different. And what one person likes is not going to be the same as another person likes. One person might like light touch, another person might like deep touch, another person might like spanking. You don't know that unless you ask. So having these conversations is so, so important. And this conversation here, modeling this conversation is so important so that other people can feel empowered to do so as well.
Exactly. That's very, very true. And also, like, your orgasm revelation is bold and proactive. So have you faced resistance, and how do you handle those critics?
So I started an orgasm revolution last year, and I'll just explain it. It basically is a campaign to spread the word around what the orgasm gap is and how women and men can change that for themselves, through education and empowerment. And so that is what my orgasm revolution is. And I'm sorry, what was the rest of the question?
So, I mean, have you faced any resistance about it?
Okay, and the resistance. Okay. So it's interesting that you say that. Um I feel like a little by little people are becoming less resistant. The biggest resistance I'm finding is that, what the original orgasm revolution was that you would buy a t-shirt that says orgasm equality on it and you would post it on your social media. And that I noticed was a huge resistance. People would say, "Oh, I'll take a picture and you can post it, but I don't want to post it on mine because I don't really want to get into that kind of information on my, socials." There's still shame. There's still embarrassment around sexuality. So I find that is sort of breaking down a little bit, but it's still there and it's a layer that is really so deep that people don't even realize how, brainwashed or how conditioned we are to be ashamed of our sexuality. And really, it's what all of us have done in order to be here in this world, right? We all come from sex, right? You can't be on this earth unless you're an in vitro child, which, there's more and more of those, as time goes on, but there's not so many when you think about the grand scheme of things. Most of us came here through sex, right? And so not being ashamed of sex is so key. And it's just so pervasive that, we just continue to have these conversations, and hopefully over time, people will start understanding more and more. And I feel like that really has happened. And I'm going to just use this one particular example with my mother. She has been listening to the show, and sometimes, the topics are like way over her head or way too much for her, but she's always been extremely supportive of me. And yesterday she sent me a podcast that she listened to, and it was about purity culture. And she said, "Oh, this was so well done. I thought that you would be interested in it." And I'm seeing that through my show, it's helping her to almost heal her things, her, environment that she grew up in. And she, was 19 when she got married. And one of the reasons she says was because she wanted to leave her house because she was being controlled in all aspects of her life. And so, marriage was an escape for her, and so, yeah, absolutely. I think, we all need healing in this area because to certain levels, every culture has its own repression of sexuality, and trying to throw that out and to really hone in on who we are as human beings is so important. And so I think, the more conversations like this we have, the more people are going to really start to understand that they need to, look internally and see what is externally, controlling them and what they can change in order to really have that sexual freedom and liberation.
Exactly. I love that. Thank you for sharing this. And also, I mean, the orgasm gap, uh, cultural or medical issue. So, what do you say? Is it a medical issue or a cultural gap?
I really think it's a cultural gap. I think that, men and women oftentimes find that there's something wrong with them if they can't orgasm, especially women, because they don't understand that everything that they see on television, in movies, etc., is always penetrative sex.
Yeah.
So when you constantly see that that's how people have sex and they quote unquote are enjoying it and you are not enjoying it, you think there's something actually wrong with you and you think it's a medical condition. Where in reality, all you need to do is touch yourself, pleasure yourself, masturbate, understand how your body works, number one. And then number two, be able to translate that information into the bedroom and with your partner. And so I think that a lot of times people think that it's a medical condition when actually there's no medical condition there. It's just about learning who you are. So, that is really my message, is for women and men to really explore their bodies, to think of their bodies from head to toe as an erogenous zone, because not just the genitals are the erogenous zones. Your earlobe can be an erogenous zone. Your nipples can be an erogenous zone. The back of your neck, your feet, wherever you like to be touched, and everybody's different. So finding out what those things are and then being able to tell your partner, this is what I like. This is what's going to close the orgasm gap for each person.
Exactly. That's very, very true, I'd say. So, wow, what a ride, I would say. So, today we have uncovered the power of big clit energy, the science behind acoustic wave therapy, and the importance of closing the orgasm gap. So, special thanks to Eve for her fierce advocacy, boldness, and deep expertise. So, be sure to check out her podcast, Please Me, and join the Orgasm Revolution to continue the journey towards empowerment and equality. So, if you loved this episode, do not forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share pleasure principles with someone who needs to hear it. And also remember that prioritizing pleasure isn't just about or isn't just important. It's very, very powerful. So Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep embracing your pleasure principles. So, thank you so much.